Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to be here again with you. I want to be talking about something that is just so special to me, and it's branding, marketing, and selling. So, have you ever noticed that Christian entrepreneurs tend to get really uncomfortable whenever someone mentions branding, marketing, or selling? Branding feels prideful, and marketing feels manipulative, and sales feels selfish. At least that's how it seems when we're thinking about it from a Christian perspective. But what if the problem isn't those words at all? What if it's simply that those words are misunderstood? Today, I want to share with you how I see them through the Purpose Flow lens. And I'm going to use one of my favorite Bible stories to illustrate the point. So, you may be familiar with the story of Esther in the Bible. Now, if you remember, Queen Vashti was asked to parade herself in front of the king and his drunken friends, and she refused. And because he had to save face, the king put Vashti out and went looking for another queen. And all of these women, young women, did everything that they could to make themselves super attractive so that they could be selected as the next queen. And Esther was chosen. She was just this ordinary woman, probably very beautiful, but ordinary nonetheless. She wasn't royalty. And she ended up being selected to be queen, and she was in the castle, and she was positioned by God for a purpose. And so throughout the story, we realize that Esther had to discover who she was before she could do what God had called her to do. So Esther wasn't building a business, that's true. But I think there's some principles in her story that can apply to us and what we're doing as entrepreneurs, particularly Christian women entrepreneurs. And so the first point that I really want to lean into is this concept that I've been developing and really honing over the last year and a half or so is branding as identity. We hear a lot about we have to brand ourselves, and oftentimes when the concept of branding comes up, the first thing people think of are logos and colors and websites and things like that, like things that make us look polished, online, or our business cards, or even signage for your business. It's all about like, how do you look? How professional do you look? But branding isn't really just about your logo or your colors or your website. Branding answers one question, and that question is, who did God create you to be? You have to sit with that for a moment, because when we go back to the story of Esther, Esther had to embrace her identity before she stepped into her assignment. Until you understand who you are, until your identity is settled, you will constantly compare yourself to everybody else out there. In this noisy online space, people are doing all the things. And if you continue to check out what they're doing, you'll start to feel behind or lost or confused. And so you really have to understand who you are in this space. Who did God create you to be? And what is He calling you to do? Your business should reflect your God given identity, not somebody else's strategy, because there are plenty of strategies out there. And as I said, if you're out here looking at what other people are doing, you're going to start to feel like maybe you have it wrong. And so when we think about identity, it's clear that your message becomes much easier when you understand who you are and what God has called you to do. The next thing I want to talk about is marketing equals messaging. So, marketing has gotten a bad reputation because we see a lot of bro marketing and bro culture and hype marketing and scarcity thinking. And what we really want to focus on now when we're talking about marketing is messaging. And so your marketing needs to communicate simply what you're all about. If you are not creating that message, if you're not sharing who you are, what you're called to do, the problem that you solve, then nobody really knows that you exist. They can't receive what God has for them. They have this hair on fire problem. They have an issue that you are uniquely created to solve. But if you cannot articulate what it is that you do, how in the world are they going to figure out that you can solve their problem? And so you have to be clear about what it is that you do. You have to open up your mouth. You can't be silent. And so Esther didn't stay silent. When it came down to it, she had to speak up. If you remember the story well, Mordecai came to her and told her what was going on with the Jewish people, how Haman wanted to uh, hurt the Jewish people, kill the Jewish people. And he told her that she had to go to the king. And if she didn't go to the king, that the help would come from somebody else. And how does she know that she wasn't created for just a time as this? And so she had to speak up. She had to go to the king and she had to plead on behalf of her people. She had to communicate at the right time and in the right way. So, marketing really asks, how do I clearly communicate the value God has entrusted to me? Right? So marketing is not hype, it's really clarity. And when people understand your message, they're ready for that invitation that you're going to give them. The third point I want to point out is sales is service. And I think a lot of us get stuck in this place where we think that selling is, I got to convince people to do something. I got to, close that sale. I have to do it. I have to manipulate the situation so that people will buy from me, particularly when we're in situations where we need to make money or we need to make quota. We're thinking we have to do something to get somebody to do something, maybe even something that they don't want. But here's the thing, if you're thinking about sales as service, then really what you're trying to figure out is how do you solve the problem that the person has? I think this is one of the things that Christians struggle with the most because sales isn't convincing, it's not pressure. It really is helping someone to make a decision about something that is going to benefit them. So in Esther's case, she approached the king because she was serving her people. She was going to the king on behalf of her people. She wasn't trying to gain something for herself. She wasn't trying to give something to someone. She was there trying to serve on behalf of her people. We don't sell because we need money. Yes, I know we need money. That's the way this world operates. But we don't sell because we need money. We serve, and the money is a reward for us providing value. We sell because people need the solution that we have to offer, and money really just allows us to continue serving. So basically, identity, messaging, and service. If you look at it that way, if you look at those words of identity, who you are, messaging, what it is that you are communicating, and service, how are you solving a problem that somebody has? So, identity, messaging, service, it's really the same as branding, marketing, and selling. And if you skip the identity, your marketing feels confusing. And if your messaging is confusing, people won't know how you can help them. And if they don't know how you can help them, you can't serve them. Everything flows from your identity. So, I want you to ask yourself a few questions today. First, who has God created you to be? That's essential. That's the first step. That is your identity. And from there, everything else flows. And then I want you to ask yourself, am I communicating that clearly? That's your messaging, that's your marketing. Are you putting out there something that's so clear and so articulate that people can listen to what you have to say and raise their hand and say, that's me? And then, third, am I inviting people to receive the help that God has equipped me to provide? You are uniquely created to solve the problem that they have. But if you're not communicating well, they will not know it. And if you're not making that invitation, if you're not asking them if they need help and how you can serve them, they'll never find you and you'll never be able to do what God has called you to do. So, I'd love to know which one of these is hardest for you. Is it identity? Are you struggling with that branding aspect of it, like really understanding who you are, who God has created you to be? Or is it messaging? That's your marketing. Are you getting the word out there? Are you communicating effectively? Or is it service? Are you serving people or are you trying to manipulate? Are you trying to sell them something? Are you trying to close that sale? Are you trying to win business or are you truly trying to serve the people that God has called you to serve? I want you to leave a comment below. I'd love to continue this conversation over in my free community on school, the Client Flow Growth Labs, the Client Flow Studio Growth Labs. This teaching is something that we are continually talking about in that space: branding, marketing, and selling. And as soon as you grasp that it's not hype culture, hustle marketing, bro marketing, as soon as that scarcity thinking, as soon as you grasp that, you start to settle into the fact that it's all about knowing who you are, knowing who you serve, knowing what problem they have, and then making an invitation. Buyers have agency. So once you make that invitation, if it's for them, they can move forward. And if it's not for them, you have to just move forward to the next person who is going to benefit from what you have to offer. All right, that's it for now. Come on and join us over in the Client Flow Studio where we can continue this conversation.